Hey everybody, SoxHeather here, and I'm coming at you with another Tasty Tuesday, Persian edition. I am having a dinner party tonight, or tomorrow night, and I already showed you guys how to make ghormeh sabzi. I'm making two khoresht tonight. Ghormeh sabzi is a khoresht. Khoresht means stew. The second one that I'm making is Khoresht Bademjan. Now, traditionally, you don't make two khoresht or stews when you are having a dinner party, but I like it. I want to, and I wanted to try a new one. And I may have bitten off a little bit more than I could chew. The cool thing about cooking Persian stews or khoresht is you can do them the night before. In fact, it's probably better to do them the night before because as it sits overnight, that food just, the flavors just layer and layer, and it's so delicious. It's always better the next day. So, as with any stew, American stews are like that too. So Khoresht Bademjan is the recipe we're doing right now, and it's an eggplant stew. Now, the recipe does call for meat. You can use lamb or beef or whatever you want, but we're just going to do vegetarian. I already have a... Sorry, I spit on you. I already have a beef stew, which is the ghormeh sabzi, and that's cooking on the stove right now, so I'm going to show you guys the Khoresht Bademjan. I want to have a nice little alternative flavor. Ghormeh sabzi is green when it comes out, and a lot of people, especially Americans, are a bit shy of it. So I want to have an alternative for people who've never had ghormeh sabzi. So we're going to do Khoresht Bademjan. I've already made a mistake with the ingredients. I didn't read the recipe fully. I go to two websites. For ghormeh sabzi, I showed you mypersiankitchen.com. For the Khoresht Bademjan, I'm going to turmericandsaffron.com. And they actually explain how to do the tomatoes, but I didn't read it all the way through. And really, you can use a can of crushed tomatoes. So you're going to see my oops in the ingredients listing. But let's go ahead and get started, and I hope you guys like it. Okay, here we have our ingredients. So we're starting with eggplant. Now, these have been peeled and sliced into long slices. They've also been soaked, and I will show you how to do that as soon as I finish showing you the ingredients. So the original recipe calls for 2 large eggplants and a pound of meat. We're going meatless on this, so I've used 3 large eggplants. We need 1 can of tomato sauce, just plain. Well, this isn't plain, it's fancy, as anyone can tell. 2 medium-sized tomatoes peeled. Peeling tomatoes is not the most fun thing in the world, as I've found today. So perhaps buy a can of peeled tomatoes and use those. I don't think it'll make much of a difference. 1 onion diced. 3/4 cup yellow split peas. Now, for those of you that are like me and love your fiber, yellow split peas has one of the highest contents of fiber of any food. So 1/4 cup of dry yellow split peas has 9 grams of fiber. So 3/4 cup will have 27 grams of fiber. This is a good high fiber dish for those of you doing Weight Watchers or just concerned about your fiber. We have olive oil for sauteing the onions, and then it also calls for a 1/2 cup of oil to cook these eggplant. And then we have 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. We have a teaspoon of turmeric. We have 2 cloves of garlic, and then it calls for the juice of 1 lime or 2 to 3 tablespoons sour grapes, which that is this grape juice that you saw me use in my ghormeh sabzi recipe. It comes in handy for all kinds of Persian cooking. And then we have 4 cups of water, and I have 2 tablespoons of that grape juice. So these are the ingredients. We're going to get started. I'm going to first start by cooking up these eggplants. This is why it pays to read your recipe all the way through before you start cooking. Step number 4 in the recipe is place tomatoes in a pot of boiling water for 5 minutes before pulling off the skin. Then chop or slice them thinly. Or you can use a can of crushed tomatoes instead. That would have been helpful to read beforehand. So I'm going to get to chopping. This is going to look crazy, but the recipe calls for sliced peeled eggplants. And what you need to do before you cook them is salt them and then put them in a bowl of water, but the eggplants are going to float, so they recommend putting a big bowl over them and putting something heavy in the bowl. Now, this isn't exactly working, but you can see this is the bowl, and the eggplants are submerged underwater. I've got heavy stuff in it so that they can stay down. A few of them aren't quite fully submerged, but I think it's going to be okay. Basically what this does is apparently removes the bitterness from the eggplant. So you only do that for about 10 minutes. Let them float around in there, and then you're going to pat them completely dry
so
before you cook them.
As I explained for the gourmet sabzi last time, every Persian recipe pretty much, unless it's dessert, starts with onions, turmeric, oil, and sometimes garlic if you like garlic. We are going to add it. So let's go ahead. I've just got some oil in the pan, just enough to cover. I've already heated the oil. I'm going to dump in my onions. I'm going to dump in my turmeric. And I'm going to dump in my garlic. I'm going to let all of that cook nicely. Now, after this cooks up, what you would traditionally do is add your meat. But since we don't have meat, we're going to go on to the next step. Okay, so I've got the eggplant sauteing over here. This eggplant soaks up oil like you don't even know. So I'm going to use more oil, unfortunately. But the tip to this is you want to get that oil screaming hot before you put the eggplant in it. And then it won't soak up as much. But there's some of the browned eggplant. I still have this much to go. And I've got this going while I've got the onions and the turmeric and the garlic going. I'm about to add my yellow split peas to this. Okay, now we've got our turmeric and oil and onions all nice and sauteed. I'm adding in the yellow split peas now. We're going to just saute those up a bit. It helps them to stay firm in the khoresht. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add my cinnamon. I'm going to salt and pepper to taste. We're not big fans of pepper, so I'm just going to leave that out. That cinnamon already smells delicious. So I'm going to get this nice and sauteed, and then we'll move on. Okay, so now we've fried our split peas for about 5 to 7 minutes. Now we're going to add our can of tomato sauce. Excuse the sizzle. We're going to add our can of crushed tomatoes. We're going to add a last-minute ingredient, which the Persian reminded me his mom puts in, which is red pepper paste. It's really just hot red peppers and salt. They're not super hot. They're they've got a kick to them. But I'm adding a little less than 1/3 of a cup of that to it. I'll do that in a second when I have a second hand. And we're going to add our about 4 cups of water, about 3.5 cups of water to it. And once I add the red pepper paste, I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to lower the heat, cover, and cook it for an hour on medium heat. So we're going to turn the heat up right now. I'm going to add that red pepper paste, and we'll bring it to a boil. Lower the heat, cover the heat, cover the pan. At this point, I wish we had smell-o-vision. The cinnamon in this khoresht is amazing. So this is cooked for an hour on a medium heat, covered. And now I'm just going to add the eggplant, or bademjan, or if you're in England, I think you guys call it aubergines. And I'm also going to add my sour grape juice, 2 tablespoons. I'm going to stir that. I'm going to add a cup of water. I'm going to cover it and let it cook for another 40 minutes. And then it'll be done.